Today, we're diving deep into the connection between people pleasing and that harsh inner voice that's constantly judging you. Oh, you're not alone, believe me. And together, we're going to discover the cycle. What is people pleasing, right? People pleasing is a deeply ingrained behavioral pattern characterized by a relentless desire to please others. So, it's often at the expense of your own needs, values, and well being. While it can sometimes be mistaken for kindness, we've all been there, or selflessness, true people pleasing stems from a need for validation and acceptance, and it's rooted in the fears of rejection or conflict. Now, this behavior often leads to suppressing one's own desires, opinions, and even boundaries so that we can maintain that harmony and approval from others. So, people pleasing manifests in various subtle and overt ways, both. So, number one, the obvious one, right? Saying yes when you mean no. Avoiding conflict. I am guilty of that because conflict can feel like a threat to connection. So you might want to be like, no, you know what? Let's just ignore the conversation or dodge that conversation because it's a difficult conversation to have with this person. And I want to please this person. I want this person to like me. And, we smooth over disagreements or we compromise, which is the worst part. We compromise our stance on something just because we want to keep the peace. Constantly seeking approval. So we constantly seek reassurance from others, right, to validate our choices. Another behavior that shows that you are a people pleaser is minimizing your needs. Another behavior that shows us that we are people pleasing is over apologizing. So let's now talk about the inner critic's role. So I really met my inner critic when I realized it's so there when I started doing stand up. I would be on the stage trying to do my stand up, and the critic would be like, "You suck. They're not laughing." And I would that's when I really heard her. She's annoying. Yeah. And very, very obvious she was there. And I was like, can you please leave? Because I really am trying to do this. Okay. So the inner critic's role, what is the inner critic? Like I said, it's that relentless voice, right? I gave the example first, but it's that crazy voice, relentless. It's like it never stops. It's inside your head that seems to always find something wrong, no matter how well you've done or how much you've achieved or how amazing you are. It's that voice that's telling you, oh, you're not good enough. You should have done more. You haven't reached your goals. You are not, good enough for this person. This internal monologue is like having an uninvited guest who's always ready to point out your flaws. So the inner critic has three major ways of driving people-pleasing behavior. Number one, fear of rejection. The inner critic constantly whispers fears of not being accepted or loved. And it convinces you that if you don't meet everyone's expectations, you risk losing connection and approval. This fear pushes you to say yes when you mean no. Agree when you want to, no, I object. You don't say it. You're like, yeah, sure. And inside you're like, what? No. And sacrifice your own needs just to maintain the harmony and the balance and the peace. So another way that our inner critic fuels people pleasing is the desire to be perfect. Oh my God. So annoying. All right. Perfectionism is like the inner critic's playground. It's like, I'm home, baby. You're a perfectionist. Let's go. The inner critic thrives on impossible standards and convinces you that making mistakes or setting boundaries means you have failed. In the world of people pleasing, perfectionism drives you to be the perfect friend, the perfect partner, the perfect employee, the perfect host, often to the point of burning out. So, another way that the inner critic fuels people pleasing is the belief that approval equals worth. No, it doesn't. But how many times have we felt that, right? If somebody validates me and approves of me, then, oh, I'm cool. I'm good. No, you're good because you think you're good, because your values are good. So the most important thing is being happy with yourself. Each time you sacrifice your needs to keep the peace or gain approval, you reinforce the inner critic's narrative. You teach the inner critic that its fears are justified and that avoiding conflict or seeking validation is the safest route. So here are some truth bombs. Okay, are you ready? The more you people please, the stronger the inner critic becomes. Remember, the inner critic affects your emotional, spiritual, and physical health. Another truth bomb. It learns that external validation is the key to self-worth. Breaking the cycle means facing the discomfort of saying no and risking that disapproval, which is something the inner critic fights against tooth and nail. All right, so segment number 3, you guys, is about recognizing the patterns. One of the most powerful steps towards breaking free from people pleasing is learning to recognize the patterns. That's why, guys, download the free guide. It's going to be really helpful, because people pleasing doesn't happen randomly, right? It's triggered by specific people, specific situations, or even environments that ignite that need for approval or conflict avoidance, like work or family reunions, right? By bringing these triggers into awareness, you can begin to reclaim your power and make conscious choices instead of automatic ones. Self-awareness is number one. You have to. Once you're self-aware, you can analyze what's going on, right? So recognizing the triggers, identifying the triggers. Triggers are the catalysts that activate people-pleasing behavior. That we talked about that. So these triggers include family gatherings. Family is where most of our people-pleasing habits are born, right? So imagine the family reunions and gatherings. The expectations placed on us as children, whether to keep the peace or avoid conflict or an approval, often carry into adulthood. And if you find yourself slipping into old roles around your family, like the helper or the peacemaker or the logical one or the overachiever or the funny one, it's likely to be tied to deep-rooted conditioning. Okay, so another thing that is a trigger is the work deadlines. Oh my God, right? In professional settings, the fear of disappointing colleagues or superiors can push you to like overextend to no end. You might volunteer for extra projects or work late hours or take on others' responsibilities, all to avoid the perception that you're not being cooperative, that you're selfish or incapable. Like a coworker asks if you can help with a last minute project, you're swamped with your own deadlines, but the fear of seeming unhelpful overrides your boundaries. And you say, yes, I'll do it. So people pleasers often struggles with direct confrontation. To avoid the conflict, you might suppress your feelings or agree with things you don't actually support or avoid difficult conversations altogether. If your partner makes a decision you disagree with, instead of voicing your opinion, you nod along and keep the peace, even if it eats at you inside. Breaking free from the cycle. Yes, this is the part, the part where we break free from the cycle. Breaking free from the cycle of people pleasing and the grip of that inner critic. That's no small task, believe me. It takes awareness, intention, and practice. But with the right tools, it's entirely possible to reclaim your time, your energy, and your self-worth. Like 3 powerful strategies for breaking the cycle: setting boundaries, challenging negative self-talk, and embracing self-care. Living authentically. Yes, the final step in overcoming people pleasing and silencing that inner critic is stepping into your most authentic self. Living authentically means expressing your true thoughts, feelings, and needs without the fear of judgment or rejection. It's about letting go of the mask that we wear to please others and embracing the person that you really are, with your flaws, with your strengths, and everything in between.